Hi, this is Mark Wiltshire. Thanks for joining for another bonus episode of the Finnish Football Show, the Behind the Quarantine series. And this episode is with the first team coach. And I've been joined today by Joaquin Gomez from SJK Seinäjoki. Hi, Joaquin.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. And thanks very much for joining us today.
No. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're new to Seinäjoki, and I thought that it would be interesting for the SJK fans as well as the Finnish Football Show listeners to sort of learn a little bit about you. And I've done a little bit of research, but not too much. I wanted to know a little, but I wanted you to tell us about your kind of journey to that's brought you to Finland, because it looks to me like you've done quite a lot. And you're still fairly young, so this is going to be interesting. You became a coach quite early in your career.
Yeah, it's something that when you're young, and when you love football the way that I am, and many others love around the world, what you want to do, you want to be a football player. And that's what I wanted to do when I was young, very early. It was my passion. I invested a lot of time into it, but I thought, or quite soon I understood that it wasn't going to be my path to professional football.
How old were you when you realised, when you decided that?
Well, it took me a little while. Don't get me wrong. I thought I had something in me that could get me somewhere, but I was never going to make it as a top professional. So around probably 18, 19, when I was in my late stages of academy football, I started to have a couple of experiences in first team football quite early when I was 16, 17. But when I was trying to pitch my level, and I soon understood that wasn't going to be my path. I could enjoy football in a different way, and if I wasn't going to be a professional footballer, I had to find another way. At the same time, throughout my academy years and my development years, I was very often getting very frustrated with many things around coaching or how to be coached. I wasn't the best or the perfect player or person to be coached, and I think as I was getting older, I understood why that was, and just got me more interested about football coaching, about coaching in general, about sports science, and that was my path. The last 2-3 years of my school years, I wanted to join or to get into sports scientists. Unfortunately, I had an injury playing football, and I had to postpone it for a year. I had to go to university to do something else for 1 year, but that made me even realize even more what I wanted to do, and then just straight after a year, got better physically, and started sports science. Started doing my coaching badges. Started to coach when I was really young. I think one of the first quite shocks for many was that I think I was 19 and I was already coaching under 18s. An under 18 team. So I always been very young in every environment in terms of football that I've been, and that's how the journey started.
Did I read somewhere that you were one of the youngest coaches to get was it the UEFA Pro license?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how accurate that is, because it's been many years since that happened, and I'm very sure that there's been many young coaches. But at the time, I was one of the youngest. We joined into a university that had a pilot program that try to identify people that were studying sports science that were going to be potential professional coaches in the future, and they allowed us to, at the same time that we were doing sports science, to go to the national coaches school in the National FA in Madrid, and we were doing, alongside our university degrees, we were doing our licenses, and that's the way that it came about. We had to do, I think it was a year of license, and then another year of practices, coaching a team in a specific level, and then I think after 6 years we completed all the licenses. It was a little bit different to some other places or some other journeys, but something that I'm very grateful, because not only I was able to achieve that license, but at the same time I think we accomplished a lot of learning, and a lot of top professionals in the National FA, and Spanish coaches were not just coaches, Finnish coaches, psychologists, were the ones giving us the every subject, and the classes and the practices and all that, which transfer a lot of experiences into us, and I think it was a very, very enjoyable and very productive time.
So were you studying in? Sorry, a small delay. I'm going to try and not talk over the top of you. Were you studying in Madrid, did you say? Or was that just the part of
in Madrid, in Madrid. It was Camilo Cercela University, and they were the ones that had a partnership with the National FA, with the Spanish National FA. Yeah. And through that, they had a program to achieve all the licenses throughout a period of time, at the same time that we were doing our university degrees.
And you then made a really brave decision to leave your homeland of Spain and move to the UK.
Yeah.
Tell a little bit about that story and what you did when you first came over.
It's depending who you talk to. Probably you talk to my parents. They don't like that part of me. I'm not sure whether my wife does or not. But I can't be in the same place. Not in the same place. I can't get in a comfort zone for a long time. Okay. I like to challenge myself, and if I see that I'm not improving or I'm not getting something different to keep developing, I like to change and to look for another challenge. And at the time I was quite young, and I was doing at the time, I think the last year before I moved to England, we were doing under 18s and assistant manager to a level 5 semi-professional team in Madrid. And at the time you think that or that you're prepared to do a better job. And I understood. I understood that I wasn't going to be given that opportunity because of my age at that time. So I thought, well, I can wait for another 5, 6, 7 years in here, or I can move to a different country. I always loved English football and the football culture in the UK, and I thought, well, I'll move over. My wife now, my girlfriend, at the time, we spoke about it. We always had that desire to learn another language and to live and experience abroad. And we thought, well, this is a good time now. Go abroad, learn a language, and if we try to pursue our careers, and if it doesn't work, we can always get back, and we won't be far or worse than what we are now. So we did that. It was really difficult at the time. We moved in, and we had studied English in Spain, but it was terrible. It was terrible. The first few weeks we learned to know that we didn't speak or understood, which it was even worse, a lot. And we did a struggle, made us stronger as people and as a couple, and we went through hard times, good times, and we came the other way. And when I look back at it, and when we both look back at it, is the best decision that we ever made. England has been very good to us. It's been a culture and an environment where, in the different places where we've been, that if you put the hard work and you're honest and you keep your head down, you're gonna be rewarded, and you're gonna have a pathway, and you can succeed.
Your pathway didn't start at a football club when you came over, did it? You didn't come straight into a job in football.
No, we moved in. We enrolled in an English academy to try to learn the language. We had to work in anything that we had to work, because after a couple of months, all the savings were gone.
Yeah,
and yeah, that was the hardest time probably. But we found different jobs, and we had to do a little everything. Coffee shop, bars, a little bit of everything. But luckily, at some point, I was already going and trying to learn the vocabulary by joining in Sunday league football teams and go and do coaching sessions or help people coach for free, and starting enrolling into Brighton Hove Albion, which was a club that was a city where we lived in Brighton, and then from then on, at some point, decided to stop working anything else and focus entirely on football. After about a year of being there, and it worked out quite well, because as soon as I focused 100% in the football, then more opportunities started to come. I think I started at the club doing the under-7s in the community. I couldn't speak a lot of English, but they saw obviously something that I could do, and it was great coaching under-7s. They don't judge you because you don't know a word. Sometimes if you can't find a word, they find it for you. They started helping in the women's and girls program. Then the first team in the women's side of the club, and then I think the 2 years, two years, I think. Had my first full-time contract in football, doing 12 to 16s, and coaching the under-15s in the academy at Brighton, which was a great moment. The club was changing, was growing. They were putting this new Academy 2 program to pass the audits of the EPPP in England. I don't know if you are familiar with it. But then from then, he progressed into the club having a new training ground, a new stadium. It was just a wonderful time to be involved for the club, and to be part of.
It really was when Brighton.
Academy, yeah.
Sorry, when Brighton moved from the Withdean Stadium, which was barely a stadium, into the Amex, it was like a rebirth, wasn't it? For a sort of traditional club.
When we think back, if you put it in an academy context, we were training in 5 different venues across Sussex, going 70 kilometers apart one from another. Like the ones that some of the coaches like me had to go to different venues within the same day to monitor or to take sessions in different places. And then 2 years after, we were in a world-class training facility with, 14, 15 pitches, a pitch indoors, anything that you can think of that any professional club in the world will have. We had it. So it was a very, very, very good time to be part of the club, and to help in whatever way I could to progress the club into that. They went to a Cup 1 after a year of achieving Cat 2, and it was just a good place to be.
And then you moved to Luton.
Yeah, after one and a bit years in the academy, I got the opportunity to start helping. A new manager came in to the first team, and I have been doing bits and pieces for different age groups. I was doing the under 16s at the time, and I've been helping in other teams, in other age groups. I've been doing some work with the first team at some point, and Oscar Garcia came in, and he needed a little bit of help in the pre-season. Asked me if I could help, and then as soon as I touched first team football and had the experience of first team football, it's something that I always knew that I wanted to do, but I didn't know when that opportunity would come. And after a few weeks, they offered me to stay with the first team. I did that, and then after that, Sami Hyypiä came in the year after when Oscar left. I had the experience of that half a season with him until they left, and with Chris Hutton after that. And then I decided to leave the club after 5 years. Moved to Derby County first.
Okay.
When Paul Clement got signed as a manager at Derby County, he wanted to create this new tactical analysis department. He wanted to create something very similar to what he had experienced at PSG or Real Madrid, and he wanted a coach leading that sort of area, and he employed the old head of football operations from Brighton, and he brought me as well with them, and we had a good time. Unfortunately, it didn't work for him, but at the same time, on the other side, I had the experience to be working with 3 different coaching staff in I think 14 months I was at the club, but it was something that I was doing. I wasn't doing as much coaching as I would have liked to do, and as soon as Nathan Jones, being the assistant manager at Brighton when I was there, moved into Luton and offered me to move to Luton, it was something that I couldn't turn down. And even though I was in the Championship, I moved down to League Two to help him and to be his first team coach for, I think, 3 years. We were there almost. So
it's interesting how the connections that you make at the beginning seem to create opportunities later, isn't it? That network is so important, and I guess it's also the luck of who you happen to meet, but it's doing a good job and making an impression, and then that person finding an opportunity for you at a later stage.
You never know. You never know who you're working with now. You never know how you might need that, or how much effect that person could have in your career in 5 or 10 years time. So you can either think too much about it, but you can just forget that. So the only thing that you can do is you just do the best that you can in whatever you're doing. Be the best coach or the best whatever you are. I say sometimes to players, you don't know. You don't know who you're working with now. Not just coaches or director of football or fitness coaches or players. They could have an impact, an influence in your career in many ways. So you just got to put your head down, be as professional as you can, and hopefully that gets rewarded sometime along the line. So that's the mentality.
And Nathan Jones, with you alongside him, clearly had a really successful time at Luton. While you were moving up from the second to the first, and ultimately the club up to the Championship. My team is Wimbledon, AFC Wimbledon. So we were kind of competing at the same sort of level at the time. Of course, I'm here in Seinäjoki like you are now, so I've been following the dream from a distance there. But you then moved with Nathan Jones to Stoke City. Yeah,
probably almost 3 years that we were there at Luton. They were the most productive time in my career where I could see something that when you stick with a methodology, an idea, a plan, a program, whatever you put your head on it, if you put good people working, if you recruit good players that are good people as well, and you put something together and stick with it, you're gonna have your rewards, and that's what we had there. We put a methodology and a style of play, a lot of processes in place. The club was very good, just employing people and letting them work and do their job. That's what they get employed for, and they were very supportive. The first year, unfortunately, we couldn't make it to the playoffs. We lost to the semi-finals in the first season that we were there, and it would have been easier to just change direction, and they didn't. They they supported us, and they said the day after that semi-final, just think in the next few days what you need was what is going to make us better for next season, to make sure that we don't have to experience what we experienced yesterday. And we did that. We kept working. We improved things. We adjusted processes, and eventually we got what we wanted. That was getting the club from League Two, which is a very difficult task when you know the league. And got it into League One, and that set up the basis. The 2 years before, they set up the basis to then be successful again in League One. And that was a really, really good experience, to be able to see through a project. That's something that you don't normally get to see in football, and sometimes you don't see it that often because people are very impatient. But that's what we had in there. That's what we had in there, and then obviously the opportunity of Stoke City came in, and it was just too good to turn down. It was very difficult at the time to leave the club. As a group of people working for the club to start with, and personally, they made every effort for me to stay and to give me an opportunity to even take over the team. But I just thought at the time that the right thing for me to do was to move with Nathan to the next challenge, and that's what we did. And I don't regret it, because as much as I learned in them seasons that were successful seasons in Luton, I probably learned as much or even more in my time at Stoke, even though that wasn't as successful as it had been in the past. So
I think there's a real parallel to be drawn between the situation at Stoke and the situation at SJK in Seinäjoki. Clubs that have been more successful in the last few years that are somehow having some challenges. Obviously, Stoke had the relegation to the Championship. SJK has had, after winning the league a few years ago, has had a few years of really just, going through too many managers and just sort of not getting much higher than sort of middle of the table. And people listening to the Finnish football show will have heard me moaning about this for many years now. So what do you think you learned at Stoke that you can bring to the role here at SJK?
Well, it's I think there's some parallels, as you said. It's very very different. A club that had a history that Stoke has had, for many years in different ways. They had a very, very much a way and a DNA, if you like, ingrained at the club, which for us it was difficult. We came in to try to change that a little bit, and at the same time that we changed the momentum of where the club was going through, and that proved quite difficult. There were different challenges, different things that could have been probably done better or that we didn't see before we went in. But I think the parallels that you can find is that they got good people behind both clubs, good ownerships, people that really care for the clubs, are putting their own lives into the club, which is difficult to find sometimes. And as far as you got a good base. You got something that will help the clubs to go forward. And at times it's not always going to be good times, and what Oziko did in the early years, from coming from the third division, going all the way up, and then be successful straight away. Sometimes we forget momentum is a very important thing, like in games, in seasons, in clubs, in everything that you do. And when you got that momentum, that everything goes for you, and every decision that you make seems to be right. Sometimes you might forget about other things because you get blinded, and it happens to everyone in everything that we do. When you put in something and you create a way of playing or methodology or way of putting or coaching, and it's working, sometimes you might forget about little things that might be important in the future, because what you're doing now, that doesn't mean that it's going to work tomorrow. So I think the club is learned from those times. They had a couple of difficult seasons, and I think they're trying to put things in place to make the base stronger, to make the club stronger, to make sure that everyone that all of us have come in, try to put something in place, processes, things in place that hopefully one day when we leave, they stay here. And whether it's me, someone else or someone else in another position, they can, whoever comes in new takes on and keep adjusting and improving, but that don't have to start from zero. And I think that's the main thing that you learn from bad experiences, what you could do better and how to create a better and a stronger base to make sure that you don't go through those bad moments again.
You mentioned earlier that when you were at Brighton, you worked with Sami Hyppia. Was that connection something that led to you becoming the part of the Finland under-21s coaching team?
Yeah, him and Antiniemi. Okay. I've had many experiences working with many different people in football, and I always say, I've said lately that when I worked with Finnish people, I might have been very lucky, but I've always had good experiences, and I found them people to be very good people, as well as good coaches and good professionals. And that definitely had a influence in me in how I saw Finnish football. I remember talking to them too about how the Finnish national team was playing at the time, and it was actually a different way of playing to some of the things that I had seen before. And I always had that interest, and then through that connection further down the line, I always kept in touch, especially with Antiniemi lately, and he was the one that mentioned about this opportunity for to come and help the national team. Asked me if I was interested, if I wanted to speak to Juha Malinen. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, I've always been very interested in international football, because it's a very different skill and very different type of coaching that what you do in a club level. So even though that I was only recently moved to Stoke, and I didn't have any need to be traveling across Europe to be coaching another team and to give up my holidays, but I thought it was a great opportunity. It could open doors for me further down the line, I took the chance. The club was very good. Nathan Jones was very good, my head coach at the time, and said it would be a good opportunity. Allowed me to do it, and I'm very happy that I did, because I've experienced another way of doing things. I've met good people, and through that's why I'm here. I'm pretty sure.
That made connections that led to you being offered the position at ASIC.
Yeah, definitely. Through players.
You picked a hell of a time to come here.
Say that again, sorry.
You picked a hell of a time to come here. It must be kind of surreal to arrive at the club just at the time where all the players are sent.
We finished our contract, but we got terminated our contract with the Stoke in November, and had a couple of weeks off. Took my family abroad to get a little bit of sun. And then after 3 weeks, I came back and I started going and visiting people. And I'm one of them people that can't be still. So after 3 weeks at home, I was climbing every wall in my house. So my wife said, "You got to find something to do." So that's what I did. At the time, back end of December, I think it was Christmas, I was waiting for a different opportunity. I already kind of decided that I wanted to do something different. Wasn't sure whether it was wait for a head coach opportunity, is what I had in my mind, or do something different, have a different experience. And then at the time, my friend, an old friend, came to me and said, "I'm just having this opportunity in Second Division B in a top team in Spain. Would you fancy coming over for 6 months and be closer to your family after 10 years of being away?" And at the time, it seemed like a good idea. So I said yes. We moved there, moved down to Spain for a few months. It was a slightly different role to what I was used to. And then at the same time, I think it must have been just a couple of weeks of being there. Richie started contacting me and talking me and talking about this new project, and I started talking to Gianni, the head coach, and I don't know. I had this good feeling about what the club want to do, about my role, about the way that Honsu works, and how I can work with him and complement each other, and because of this interest that I've got for Finnish football, and I think it could be a good pathway for me, and the club has said that to me, that they will help me to have a pathway for the future. It could be a good place for me to keep developing my career and to keep progressing. So, but yeah, within 3 days of being here, I had to be put in quarantine because obviously things were getting worse in Spain. So I found myself in an apartment for a few days. I think it was at the same time that Richie had the same experience. So
yes, okay.
We were in contact with each other and sharing experience of our quarantine life. But yeah, it was the first 3 days really good, positive first impressions of the players, of the place, of the people working for the club. And then obviously we had a lot of time to prepare. It was strange. I think the trainings and the league got cancelled, and started all this situation that is very difficult for everyone. It's been very difficult for every club. It's been difficult for coaches, players, for everyone. But at the same time, we're trying to make the most of it, and we're trying to change or to shift the negativity into positives, and trying to make the most of this time.
This like you've come to Seinäjoki in like February, March time, and everything under quarantine. The town centre is pretty quiet. There's no one around. The weather's pretty poor. First of all, that could be Seinäjoki in any winter, so prepare yourself for next year. The quarantine doesn't necessarily change how the town looks in the winter.
Yeah.
Secondly, like, you've made some brave decisions moving around in your career, but taking your wife, moving to Spain in the winter, and then 3 weeks later saying, actually, we're going to Finland, that could be the bravest one of the lot so far.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I've got to say, I'm very lucky. I got the best wife in the world. She's so understanding and she's so supportive that I'm so grateful that I've got her, because I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for her. But it's they're still in Spain. That's that was part of the last few weeks. We got an agreement of. They were going to stay there for a few more weeks to hopefully pass the worst of the winter. Enjoy the good weather that we were having in there, and then once I got everything sorted, found a house in here and everything, they will move over. But then all of this situation exploded, and it's impossible now to bring them in or for me to go and visit. So. We're trying to manage the situation, get through, be patient, like everyone else has been in every part of their lives, and the good part is that when they come over, it'll be hopefully sunny and better weather.
Yeah, for sure.
A better introduction to Seinäjoki.
And you've got some children there as well.
Yeah, I've got a 2.5-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Olympia, yeah.
No, it is a good place to raise your kids. I moved over here when my daughter was 2 and my son was nearly 5, and we've been here for the last 12 years. And my first wife is Finnish. She's from this area, and my second wife now is Finnish as well. So I'm here for the long haul, I think. And hopefully they make it over here and settle with you. What about day to day? How are you working under this in these circumstances with the players?
Well, we could stop. You can take this stage in so many different ways, but what we try to do is try to turn it into positive. So to start with, I think the first week, when there was a little bit of doubt of what you could do, you couldn't do. So guys were going in training on their own, and the staff, we didn't know whether we could get face to face or not. So we were having chats and using this time to make sure that we were putting processes in place and create programs and develop bits and pieces to make sure that when the season starts, everything is up and running. And then in terms of the day to day, we came in. There's some protocols through the league and the government that you can or you have to follow. So we got a little bit of advice on that. Our doctor put or define what them protocols could mean for us, and what we've been doing. We've just been training in very small groups of 3s, trying to make it as normal for them as possible. So their work don't change that much in terms of volume and stuff like that. So they come in and train for hour and a half, hours a day, more or less 2 hours. They change in their own houses. They shower in their own houses. They have the minimum contact with everyone else as possible. The groups are always the same. So the last few weeks you've only been training with 2 players that are always the same. So minimizes the risk of getting infected in any way. So they go from their houses to the play.
Within a team.
We doing groups of So what we tried to do, we kept them in groups of the same sort of position. So we could do some position specific, and that's what we've been trying to change. So it's very difficult to train any sort of athlete or team for something in the future that you don't know when that future is. So on the physical part of the thing, or the physical side of things, you know, it's very difficult to do so. So what we're trying to do is trying to prove them as individuals, try to keep them fit and healthy, something to focus on, which, you know, mental health is very important in these days, and I think it gives them something to focus on and to distract them of watching the news and thinking too much about the situation. But in football wise, we're just trying to do things that are meaningful for them individually, for each individual, trying to put something in the sessions that improve them, whether it's technically, tactically, or physically, and having them in position specific helps to be working in some tactical bits. But you know, we trying to take every you know, everything in account. So it's a bit challenging for us to keep creating and developing and leading sessions like that, because they don't have contact between them. You have to try to keep a minimum of distance between them. But if you could, you surprise yourself sometimes with the things that you can come up and how helpful that they could be. And I think actually these sort of trainings that are sometimes forgotten in football, or that we find every excuse not to do. If teams are doing similar stuff to what we're doing, we're gonna find that in the future they're gonna be using it a lot more than what has been done in the past, because it's actually quite helpful. Players are getting a lot of feedback, a lot of time invested in themselves as individuals, not as much as you sometimes could do when you're training as a team and when you're trying to work in you know, in general team dynamics. So it's been good. It's been good.
Really interesting to hear how, you know, you've come here and again you're stretching your abilities as a coach within this unusual situation that we're in right now. And then when things get back to normal, you've got all of these different components. You have to put them together into some kind of functioning machine. The team.
That's the idea. The idea is to use this time. We could take the easy route. Don't get me wrong. All coaches, you know, the head coach, Honsu, myself, all the staff, we're working really hard for them. It's an hour and a half work every day. For us is a lot longer than what it usually is in terms of delivering and because we got a lot of different groups that we have to go through every day, and a lot of coordination with the management staff that we got to go through. But I got to say that the staff that we got, very good, very professional, and it made a lot easier. But the idea is that when we get back, we get head start on everyone else. Whenever that is, we will be fitter, we will be stronger as a team. We try to do different things to give them a little bit of competition within the team. So, for example, on Wednesdays we do like different competitions. So in their own groups, they either compete individually or as a group of three. They do the same sort of challenge or challenges, and then we put a table at the end of the day that they can have a little bit of banter and all that. But yeah, the idea is, you know, I think the owner said that the other day to us. This is a time that everyone is going to remember in 10, 20 years time, and hopefully we can remember ourselves and everything that we are doing as a time that we can feel proud of. We weren't still. We're doing something proactive, and we were doing something productive for ourselves that will put us in a better place when all this goes away. And hopefully everyone in their own little environment and their own lives, and they can do the same. And you know, and that's what we were talking earlier. I think after this time we're going to find ourselves having a different mindset about many things, and hopefully these hard times that everyone is going through, it's gonna help to make us better, and to have a better future.
I know that everyone listening to this, like you, like the players, is desperate for the football season to start. I've been watching old World Cup games. I watched the 1988 FA Cup final when I was there at Wembley to see Wimbledon win the FA Cup.
Okay, so was the best one that you've seen?
Oh, it was the most important one. It was the most exciting day, but it certainly wasn't the best game of football. It was terrible, but we won, so that's all we remember. 30 years.
I gotta see me, Jadi and Pekka the other day watched the World Cup final, France against Brazil, 98. Really, really good. If anyone are looking for a game to watch, really, really good watch.
Okay, there's a good recommendation. I might do that. I've been watching one every weekend, and that sounds like a good tip. Joaquin Gomez, thank you so much for joining me today. I've taken up almost an hour of your time, and I feel like we've heard a good introduction to your story, and you've probably got lots of stories within those. But I really, really appreciate you joining us on the Finnish Football Show.
A pleasure.
So thanks for listening to another episode of the Finnish Football Show bonus series behind the quarantine. Remember to find the Facebook page or the Facebook group, follow and like us on there. Also the 4 regular hosts of the show, our Twitter handles at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, at Escape to Suomi, and at Kekkemurari. And until the next episode, thanks for listening to the Finnish Football Show. Bye-bye.
Yep.